Hello, dear viewer. It's me, Daddy. Wes Craven is famous for directing such movies as Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street. But you know what movie less people talk about? The incest porn movie. We're not going to talk about that one. Last House on the Left was his first ever film released, and it was released in 1972. It's known as a horror exploitation film, and it follows a group of people who just got out of prison, well, escaped prison actually, and they kill and rape these two young girls. Pretty fun, happy-dappy start, yeah, and they play some beautiful music in the background of the rapes and murders and stuff. It's just wonderful. Anyways, so after doing these acts, they proceed to need a place to stay, and so they take a car and they drive from the remote place in the woods that they did these heinous crimes to the wonderful house of the parents of one of the children. So, they stay the night there. And, their little facade of being nice, civilized people slowly slips away here and there, until eventually they understand that their daughter is dead and killed by these people as they overhear conversation. So, the parents go fucking nuts, and then it becomes a revenge movie, similar to something like Martyrs or something, except it's a little different, because it's just the parents viciously murdering these motherfuckers. And it's quite the interesting movie. It's so well written that it has such lines as...
Poor little fellow.
It's not little, you just scared it, that's all.
Stay long, just
I know you don't like her, Mother, but I'm safe with her.
Now, one of the most interesting parts of the movie to me is the wonderful little, sitcom cop bullshit in the middle of the movie. Not even in the middle of the movie. It just intercepts all these horrible scenes with just fun little cops doing goofy shenanigans and being terrible at their job, and it's so wildly unfitting for the rest of the movie. It actually just feels like they tried making a comedy movie, and then it didn't work out so well, so they just turned the comedy movie into a side part of the horror movie that they made. It's definitely a little choppy as a result. It's a little awfully paced, but it's still a really entertaining watch, and I actually find the vast majority of the characters, especially the young boy killer, to be quite interesting and quite entertaining. But I find it most interesting seeing how extreme Wes Craven started out. Movies like Scream or Nightmare on Elm Street are anything but disturbing. Let's be quite honest here. They're some of the most mild mainstream horror movies out there. Great movies. Nightmare on Elm Street definitely has a weird ending, but they are very wildly entertaining movies. But in comparison to Last House on the Left, it ain't nothing as far as the extreme nature of the films go. Despite the fact that Last House on the Left isn't terribly graphic, the subject matter is a lot darker than the vast majority of Wes Craven's films. Last House on the Left is not a particularly wonderfully made movie, like I said. Script writing, definitely there. And then the directing itself by Wes Craven is a little off. It isn't always terribly fitting. The score is not super well done. Most of the acting is semi-tolerable. About a bit better than what you'd expect for a 70s exploitation horror film, but I still wouldn't call it wonderful by any means. And it's really interesting to watch, knowing what the director later went on to do, creating some of the most influential horror movies of all time, and some of my personal favorites. Critical reception of Last House on the Left was not particularly wonderful. Most of them didn't like it, and it sparked a lot of outrage among people, getting them to even try and protest, or even begin to protest and try and get it removed from theaters. Which, again, considering what was considered acceptable at that time, nobody can say that they're surprised, let's be quite honest. However, some people nowadays are definitely big fans of it, and you can look to Letterboxd for some interesting, positive reviews. Here's a review by user Tim Kopp. A vulgar piece of horrendous art trash made for tasteless, disgusting perverts and male chauvinist dogs alike. bad taste comedy mixed with an almost unbearable 70s hippie soundtrack that accidentally slips and falls into something resembling greatness, as ugly and as unwieldy as that could possibly be. Complete with bumbling cops from Mayberry and a dad talking about his daughter's nipples disapprovingly. This is a review by user Cat. The movie is serious, authentic, and evil, but also exactly the opposite. With a small budget, a very own dirty atmosphere was created. The movie offered some very rough scenes for the year 72, and had really sadistic bastards as perpetrators. Thumbs up for The Parents' Revenge. There's definitely an audience for the film, grindhouse people, exploitation film enjoyers, just people that enjoy extreme cinema. And I do. I definitely do. And I had a fun time watching the film. It was very, very interesting. And very just goofy overall. My personal experience watching the movie definitely was a pleasant experience, because it was a Halloween watch with my dear, dear friend, God. You can walk on camera for a second and say hi if you'd like, God. Alright, there's God. Yeah, he's also my editor. And he's just a ray of sunshine.
God's side job editor.
Yeah, God's side job editor. And other side job YouTuber. And we had a good time watching the movie and chowing down on free candy. Because let's be honest, free candy makes just about everything better. So while I definitely think that my experience could have, impacted my thoughts on the film, because, Halloween, I was very excited. I still think that genuinely, if I were to rewatch it, I think I would have a good time. So, a few fun facts about the history of the movie. Originally, it was written as a hardcore porn film by Craven. That's a fun fact. I'm not kidding. I lost the title thing when I caught it, but I found that. It also went through various titles. Originally, it was called Sex Crime of the Century. Then it was called Krog and Company, but, those titles didn't really seem terribly appealing, so it ended up being titled to Last House on the Left. Last House on the Left is a terribly interesting exploitation horror film directed by the famous director Wes Craven. He definitely had extreme beginnings, and I respect him for that. And I do recommend you watch the movie and form your own opinion. It's definitely got people divided. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must go hang out in the woods and hope I don't accidentally run into any killers.